I don't think I need to explain what Indie Cross is. If you're familiar with modding and FNF, then you're familiar with Indie Cross. However, that's not what I want to talk about. Instead, I want to talk about the series Indie Cross, which is completely disconnected from the mod. I have never really played an indie game before, but the idea of a series, especially the FNF mod, is actually a cool idea. Indie games have never really crossed over together, so seeing an entire series, even if it's not official, be made about indie games coming together is neat. So in 2023, we got ourselves the first episode of Indie Cross, and I wanted to cover the first 2 episodes of the series and give my thoughts on them. I will say it now, I actually like Indie Cross. I enjoy this series. If you're a fan of indie games, you're gonna get a kick out of it, but if you're not, I would still recommend it nonetheless. I think it might even be a good way of getting into indie games, and there might be a few elements of the series that you actually like. There's a lot of things I definitely like about Indie Cross, but we'll have to wait until we finally get into that stuff, which I'm gonna do right now. So join me as I cover Indie Cross the series in its first 2 episodes. So, the first episode of the series. What do I think of it? I think it's a pretty decent first episode to start everything off. I definitely do think it could have been a little longer, but for what you get out of it, it's not bad. The first episode doesn't really give you a lot to go off of, and honestly, I kinda like that. Episode 2 eventually does go into depth to explain what's going on, but for this first one, it kinda elevates the experience a little bit. I kinda like that I don't know what's going on here, so that's a positive that I can give. Episode 1 opens up with Shovel Knight and this random nobody that I don't know the name of. Yes, I know what Shovel Knight is. And so, this mysterious figure emerges from this red portal, and Shovel Knight ends up in a completely different world forced into a battle. And eventually other indie game characters end up in this mysterious place. And there's not really a lot going on with the first episode, but there's a few things going on. There is a plot, but it's mostly just the characters are confused on where they are, and they get into fights. And sometimes the characters do interact with each other, which is something I really like about this series. The Cuphead and Shovel Knight interactions really elevate this first episode. Without them, it would probably just be okay at best. They're drastically different characters, but it just fucking works. Their interactions are great. These two play off each other way too well. When Shovel Knight meets Cuphead for the first time, he helps the guy out and saves his life, but Cuphead thinks he's gonna kill him, which kinda does fit with Cuphead's characterization, surprisingly. But eventually the both of them come to an understanding and become great friends. I love when Cuphead starts fucking with him. It's really enjoyable. I think you get enough interactions between the both of them to really get their relationship together. You do get a few other character interactions, but they don't hit as hard as Cuphead and Shovel Knight. There is a Frisk subplot that is set up where Frisk is trying to kill everything it sees. I'm so confused on this character. Are they supposed to be good or evil? Cause I can't tell. I know in Undertale you have the option of killing everything or not killing everything, and maybe that's the goal of their characterization in Indie Cross, but I still am a little confused by it. That scene where Madeline was gonna fucking die does get me though. And yes, I know the name of this character. Why are you called Battleline? I don't really know what else to really say about episode 1. The animation still holds up pretty well. There's also the music, but I'll save that for later. The fight scenes are pretty good, but they get a lot better in the second episode. If there's one thing you can give to Moro is that they're really good at doing fight scenes. Overall, it's a decent first episode. There could have been a little bit more there. It could have been a little longer, but it's not bad. So let's now get into episode 2. Episode 2 of Indie Cross is like if it had sex with itself, did cocaine, crack, heroin, and then made this masterpiece. Episode 2 is a genuine jump up in quality from the first episode. And would you be surprised that it only took a year for this to release, and it's 40 minutes? Episode 2 leaves off after the last one, where the characters are fighting over this robot. And finally, this episode starts to explain some things. The robot is actually not evil, and we first saw this robot in the first episode. And unfortunately, are now stuck in this state, and they go into detail to explain how the portals work, which I really like the concept of. And there are these evil robots that are evil and want to destroy the world, and that's the best explanation we get to all of this. I really like the designs of the robots, but I really do hope at some point we get an explanation to their existence, or just a little bit more. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but did somebody build these robots? Where did they come from? Why do they actually want to do this? If there's no explanation to it, I guess I would be fine with that that too. Oh, and there is a Frisk subplot. I actually think it's really fun. It's the best way I could explain this entire episode. We finally get our first Nightmare appearance with Springtrap, and man, he just looks really good. Frisk gets hunted down by the motherfucking Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics, and Frisk gets into an encounter with Gramrock Freddy, and it just gets even better from there. I love his conversation he has with Frisk about how Frisk is no better than him, and then he gets his ass completely handed to him in one of the best fight scenes ever. I do wonder if this subplot will actually have a meaning to it. There's a few other extra characters. We have Nico, Beheaded, and this guy. I kind of love Beheaded. He's kind of a sarcastic dickhead, and maybe that's how he acts in his own game, but I love him. I wish he was able to interact with the other characters, because I can tell he'd play off of them very well. There's this dude. I think he's cool. And then we have Nico. He does have his moments where he's able to interact with the characters. I just wish he had a few more. I could also say that for Marilyn. I like the scene where she talks with Battleline, and she does get to have a moment with Cuphead, but I would have liked to see her interact with a few more characters. But the Cuphead and Shovel Knight interactions are still going strong. To only being up to 2 episodes so far, you just get the vibe that these two are good friends. And seeing Shovel Knight treat the guy as an ally that shouldn't be left behind is pretty nice. Oh, I also think he's voiced by the Big Booty Bitches guy now. As for anything else I could say about episode 2, the animation is a lot nicer and a step up from the first one. They introduce confusing lore that's gonna give me a stroke that I can't comprehend. We get a goddamn Batman joke. The fight scenes are even better than the first episode, and it's nice to see these characters finally get to fight together. And the music, I really love what they do with the music in this series. It just fits like a glove. It's overall a step up in quality from the first episode, and I was having a good time with it. I'm really impressed with you, Moro. The fact you were able to get this out in the span of a year is impressive. I was thinking this series was going to end after 3 episodes, but it might be around 4 or 6. But I don't mind waiting. I will wait until the end of time. I could make a few character predictions, but I'm just going to surprise myself with whoever comes next. Who the fuck is this guy? So that is all of Indie Cross for right now. If you like indie games, you're definitely gonna love this series, but even if you're not into indie gaming, still check it out nonetheless. Good work to you, Moro. I'm proud of you, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Who knows what's going on with these new robots and this one that's able to turn you into gold? Wait, this guy fucking killed someone? And my boy is canonically dead now? We'll have to find out in episode 3. Let me know what you think of Indie Cross, and I'll see you guys next time, and bye.